Wow.
Whoa.
Wow, 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 wow.
Wow.
I'm awake.
I'm awake.
Let's start this one off with a blast from the past, everybody. Are you ready? I know it's Monday morning. You're waking up. We got a hell sesh for
Yeah,
you.
here
Are
we
you
go.
ready? Ow! Ow! Woo! Good job, Charlie. Yes, yes, Queen. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Good
Yeah.
job. Ooh. Put some stank
Yeah, that's
on it.
good.
Nice. Good job. Wow. On camera. On camera. Okay.
Yeah,
It
okay,
looks like
well,
he
that-
stepped on a bone and he hurt
Yeah.
his foot at the end there. So welcome back to the pod, guys. We got Charlie in the studio. We got Mouse in the studio.
They're about to do their drive time, skit.
Yeah, they're gonna do a little thing
Later on.
They learned a
We'll
tap
get
dance.
to it. Yeah, we'll
Mouse
talk about it.
taught it to Charlie. It's actually pretty graphic.
The 405 boogie.
and
Anyways, we'll get to it.
oddly sexual,
Yeah.
so we're not going to be doing that first thing. But we want to remind you guys to leave us a review on iTunes. Leave us a review, rate, subscribe, review the podcast. It helps us, helps get the word out about the
Yeah.
podcast. And
you
tell
for
your friends
everybody.
about it, you know?
Everybody who has reviewed us already.
Yeah, thank you. We have some new reviews that we do read at the top of the podcast now. So this one is from J Bands Nation. Andy and Rosebud are exactly what every marriage counselor's nightmares are made of. And honestly, I'm here for it. Been a listener since day one, and they've only gotten better with age. Hags, and don't ever change. What is hags? Have a good summer?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, that's
yeah.
what you would write in yearbooks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
KYT.
Wow.
KIT.
This one's from David Howell. Wow. 100 episodes, 5 stars. I met Rosebud when I was working at the door at Blue Room in Springfield, MO. She was super nice and extremely funny, so I figured I'd check out her and Andy's podcast and Andy's stand-up, and they certainly did not disappoint. Each episode is hilarious and leaves me wanting to listen to another. I eventually became a patron so I could help support them more and access those episodes too. Thanks for all the great content. Thank you, David. God damn, we love our Patreon members, don't we?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh, you're looking at the Patreon. Andy's just looking at your guys' names because that's what he does
I just
when he's
read your
feeling
names.
sad.
Sometimes when I pray
Yeah.
for all of you.
He gets in child's pose at the end of the night by the bed,
And I print
just-
out all your names and
he
your
just says-
addresses, and I pull up your picture.
and he just says a little prayer for each and every one of you.
Yeah, not like a group prayer either. Not like some Mormon baptism. I get right in there with
No,
each of
it's
your
like-
names.
It's like the rosary, but it's just you guys.
Yeah.
It's just your faces.
Yeah.
The
138 names of Patreons.
If you're not a Patreon member, you can head over to www.patreon.com
We got lots of
/find
tiers
your
and
beach
incentives.
and subscribe to the Patreon. You get another episode every week. You get a bunch of extra content on there. And we're working on stuff this summer to start pumping out some sketches for y'all, which is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm stoked. I'm rock hard.
I can see that.
Yeah.
It's actually,
Don't look.
you should close your legs.
Sorry.
Thanks.
I have a micropenis, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can't see anything, but I can, you know. So I actually have special contacts for when I go down on it.
I jerk off with a piece of pasta.
VI Bistro
My
at the end
pocket
of this
pussy
month.
is a penne.
We have a VI Bistro at the end of this month, July 27th. June 27th. Thank you, Jesus Christ. At 6 p.m. And if you are a VI Beach, is it VI Beaches? If you're a VI Beach member, that's the top tier Patreon, you will be there. So,
Free
Andy.
tickies to shows, and yeah.
Yeah. Are we done with
Anyways.
announcements?
Yeah, I would like to welcome a new Mahalo member. Welcome to the beach,
Wow.
Jim McIver.
Jim MacGyver, welcome to
God
the beach.
damn it. Pull
Happy
up
to
a
have
chair.
you here.
Pull up a little table.
Put your toes in the sand,
Get that-
wiggle them around,
Get that
grab
towel.
a Mai Tai, you know? Put some
And-
sunscreen on.
Enjoy it. And then she's not new. She's back. Leslie Benchina,
Yes!
the show veterinarian.
The resident veterinarian.
Resident veterinarian Leslie Benchina, who we DM basically anytime something happens with the animals, and she answers promptly, and she rescues basically every kind of animal. If you go to her Instagram, it's like she's rescuing squirrels, she's rescuing horses, she's rescuing I literally think she has like 5 dogs.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah, she's kind of living all of our dream life.
And then another Mahalo. These are all Mahalo members. Leslie is a Mahalo member again, and Ella Ricard is back and or is part of the pod now, part of the Patreon. She's a Mahalo member as well. So you guys are all in that special tier. You're right up there in that tier, and you're watching us on YouTube, and you're back, and we welcome you. And I just had a stroke, so
yep,
that happens. If you've watched the show, you know I have
Mahalos
strokes.
and VI Beaches are really the Jews of the Patreon. You know, they're really the chosen people.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That really scared me for a second. I thought we were going to have to take down a time code.
Jesus Christ.
I was like,
what did you think I was going to say?
I don't know. Imagine I said somebody is the Jews of the bot.
I would hold on to both handles of the chair. I'd be like, oh, where are we going with this? Where's he going?
And I just wanted to share this message.
We always do that. We always react to one another. Like one of us is going to say something terrible.
Just commit a hate crime.
Yeah, and it's like
we're married.
It's not happening. We've never. It's not like we go home and we just fucking let it rip. But we react to one another on the podcast like that's what we do in regular life. It's really just we're terrified of getting canceled for like any infraction.
This is from Mike. He said, I end up putting a period on text when I've overthought and revised the message I'm sending several times. I only notice it when I subsequently go back and read the text I sent multiple times. LOL.
Wait, read that to me again.
I only put the period on the text
at the end of a text message
when I've overthought it.
Okay.
And I only notice it when I go back and read through it. LOL.
So I think he's agreeing with the fact that putting a period at the end of a text message is not a normal. It's not like what you do when you're like normal and relaxed.
Can I tell you how it happens for me?
How?
Because if you double tap the space bar, you get a period, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just how I type. That's how I type. So when I break up a sentence, I always go sentence, double tap, sentence, double tap. And so if I write a single sentence, I double tap it. And if I write a multiple sentence, I always just end my thought with a double tap. It's like Pavlov's dog type of thing.
Oh, yeah?
It's not like I'm like, and by the way, I would like you to formally know that I'd like milk. You know?
But it does read that way.
And I don't really care that much.
Okay.
Because I know my heart.
I know my heart, and it's not an angry one.
Yeah, I know my heart and soul. I know Jesus loves me. Yes, he does. Hallelujah. So
I do think that it's something that I don't know anybody else's phone that does that.
Your phone does that.
Hold on.
You double space.
I'll try it right now. I will try it right this second.
Your mind's gonna be blown.
Okay, I'll do it right now. Let's see. I'm gonna burp into the microphone just to build up my confidence and say, let's see how this works.
Okay. There
wow.
we go. There we go.
Wow. My mind is blown.
Yep. Huge day.
Unreal.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Well, I apologize. And, a lot of you guys might also not know this, that you can add multiple languages to your keyboard. So you can switch between them. Of course, I have the Espanol keyboard. I don't know the word for keyboard, but I have the Espanol keyboard.
Okay.
So sometimes I accidentally spit between it. And the autocorrect starts autocorrecting in Spanish.
Wow.
So when I want to say I'm desperate, it says I'm Despacio. You know, it's really funny.
That sounds like Despacito.
A
little bit. What does Despacito mean?
I think alone?
Slowly?
Oh, Despacio. Mas Despacio. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. I want to know what the words to Despacito really mean, because that is, it's going to be gross.
Do you think they're talking about slowly inserting a shaft of a penis into a moist vagina?
Oh, no, I was thinking like they slowly
Did
cut
homework.
cucumbers
Oh,
for
okay.
the Greek salad that they're making.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. You thought it was something else? You thought
No,
it was that
no,
gross
no, no, no.
thing?
No, I didn't actually. I don't even
That
know what that
gross
is.
thing?
That gross thing that created all life.
Yeah.
It is weird. Sex and recreation.
Procreation.
I'm saying recreation because I think that we're all just recreations of ourselves. But
I'm
there
not going
was
to argue with that.
there was one other thing that I wanted to add.
To what?
Oh, it was funny. Today, I was filling out the Dominican Republic, visa enter paperwork. You remember I got your passport?
Yeah.
And you know how it's like you have to hit the CAPTCHA thing
Yeah.
to say that you're, and it said, the next to the little box, it said, "No soy un robot." I am not a robot. But it's just funnier.
It's so funny to me that you're telling a robot that you're not a robot.
Yeah, somebody has a great bit about that. Where they're like, the only way to trick robots is to ask them if they're robots. They're like undercover cops.
Yeah.
Are you a robot? Yes. Yes, I am a robot.
It's so weird to me every time I have to answer that question. I'm like, you're a fucking robot. Why am I fucking...
Why can't you tell which pictures have the crosswalk in them?
Yeah.
I can't believe they're like, we have like HAL, like fucking AI, Alexa. But if you showed Alexa like a picture of some traffic lights, she's like, cannot compute.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just fucking short circuits at the sight of a fire hydrant.
Yeah. Anyways, so speaking of fun, it's like Rosebud loves to dish on me because I like love maps and geography and planning trips, and like knowing a lot about the world. Rosebud's,
what do you mean dish on you?
You love to give me a hard time and call me a nerd.
Okay.
But Rosebud's version of that is like self-help and processing trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got a special segment for us today because she pulled out my copy of the Body Keeps score, and she found a.
Also, how are you going to say that it's my dorky thing when I took your book?
Yeah, I haven't read it.
You said you've tried to listen to the
bought it
audiobook several times.
I bought it to impress a girl.
You did not.
Yep.
No, you didn't.
Bought it to impress a girl.
You were working through trauma stuff when I met you. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be interesting anymore. I'm sort of losing.
Well, we're here
faith
now.
in it.
Let's see.
All right. Basically, there's this part in it that talks about developmental trauma being a hidden epidemic. Okay. And
Developmental trauma being what? Like childhood?
childhood trauma.
Okay.
So it talks about the DSM-5 being, and the DSM-5 is, okay.
The DSM-5 is like the code system with which your psychologist or doctor diagnoses a mental illness.
Yeah, and they have to buy this book. All psychiatrists, doctors, researchers, they all have to buy this book as part of their...
And if you've ever gone to a therapist who makes you directly bill your like insurance company, if they don't put in the exact right DSM-5 code, your insurance will be like, sorry, we don't cover that. And then your doctor will be like, all right, I'll write 0.2. And then they're like, oh, yeah, that's paid for.
Yeah.
And it's literally like anxiety, OCD, whatever,
It's like anxious leg syndrome.
Ooh, got those.
Okay.
Dying to kick somebody.
Can't stop kicking strangers.
Yeah, it came from soccer. My dad yelled at me to shoot the ball, and now it's stuck with me.
I get
anytime
into
I
that
panic.
what if thinking, and I
Yeah.
just start kicking people.
Yeah.
Just windmill kicking them right down the street. When DSM-5 was published, this is from the Body Keeps score. When DSM-5 was published in May 2013, it included some 300 disorders in its 945 pages. It offers a veritable smorgasbord of possible labels for the problems associated with severe early life trauma, okay? Including some new ones, such as disruptive mood regulation disorder, non-suicidal self-injury, intermittent explosive disorder, me, Dysregulated social engagement disorder, and disruptive impulse control disorder, also me.
I think I have dysregulated. What's the dysregulated?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's the point that they're trying to make, is that all of this is like disruptive mood regulation disorder. It's like, so every time your mood changes, it disrupts
mood regulation. Yeah, I can't really regulate my moods. Who can?
That's what I'm saying. So, a non-suicidal self-injury, it's like, okay.
What do you call my workout regimen?
I just wanted you to sit in that for a second. I hate that you guys laughed at that.
I got the laugh.
I hate that you guys laughed at that so much. Before the late 19th century, doctors classified illnesses according to their surface manifestations like fevers and pustules. They did not need to use that word. But which was not unreasonable given that they had little else to go on. But that changed when scientists discovered that many diseases were caused by bacteria that were invisible to the naked eye. Medicine then transformed its attempts to discover ways to get rid of the pustules and fevers rather than just treating them. Medicine then was transformed by its attempts to discover ways to get rid of these organisms rather than just treating the boils and the fevers that they caused, okay? With DSM-5, psychiatry firmly regressed to early 19th century medical practice. Okay, so basically...
Let's unpack it. Let's unpack it, sis.
The fact that we know the origin of many of the problems it identifies, the DSM-5 diagnoses describe surface phenomena that completely ignore the underlying causes. So what they're saying is that childhood trauma is the equivalent of like invisible bacteria. And then these problems that the DSM-5 is putting forward, like disruptive mood regulation disorder, intermittent explosive disorder, impulse control disorder, all of those are actually symptoms of early childhood trauma.
I want to give you guys a little BTS behind the curtain. Rosebud will be repeating this information enthusiastically to a group of her friends who happen to be famous female comedians, and they will be all going off. This is how they socialize. They will sit at a table and they will be like, and the whole thing is it's just like bacteria. And then another one will be like, thank you. Oh my God.
Yes, queen.
Yes, it is.
Go off.
COVID, childhood, same difference. I need a vaccine.
Give me a vaccine for my early childhood trauma, please.
Yeah, that's how women socialize now in their 30s. Probably all above 20s, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody that can afford therapy, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Cool. And what Andy does with his friends is they just take whatever they're feeling and they shove it way, way down, and it turns into cancer, or they pick at their skin. I'm the only one
that does that because I love the way my body heals. I love to see that, and I love to just watch the way the body heals. I'm very impressed by that, and I respect my body enough to challenge it. And sometimes you have a freckle.
Love your body enough to challenge it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Like I said a minute ago, it's self-harm. I love self-harm.
Is that why you eat cheese every day?
I don't eat cheese
even though you have to shit yourself every night. Anyway,
Jesus Christ. That is all actually. I've always had stomach issues, but this most recent round of real bad stomach stuff all correlates with colon broom.
So you digging holes in your skin is really just a firm, reassuring touch. Is that what you're saying?
I think that I think I have an OCD thing where I have to be doing something. Mm-hmm. Like I can't just sit still. Uh-huh. And it gives me a little project.
Oh. Like arts and crafts, but with your skin.
Yeah. And
nice.
If you notice, it only takes about 3 weeks for it to be fine. You can barely see the scars.
Yeah, digging holes in yourself is really just vision boarding.
Yeah.
But for men.
And my friends and me do not dig holes. That is a very private thing that I do with myself in the mirror. Mm-hmm. And me and my friends, we just share stories about like embarrassing things that happen to them on their dates.
Oh, okay.
We just talk about guy stuff.
Yeah.
Like clothes and sports and women they're sleeping with.
Nice. Well, it sounds expansive and enlightening, you know?
We're all growing. We don't judge the speed at which we grow, you know?
Anyway, I think that's pretty interesting because I think about like everybody that I know. We're always talking about how like mental illness has like this stigma around it, but every single person I know has anxiety or depression, and they're very open about it. Like everyone that I know with social anxiety, especially, is letting everyone know in social situations that they have social anxiety. So I'm like,
Directly?
yeah, it's the first thing they tell you about themselves. They run up to you at a party and they look horrified and they're like, "Isn't this awful? I'm so anxious." And I'm like, "It's
Smile
only
on their
awful
face.
because you're talking about this right now. Like you are ruining this for me." You know?
See, this is what I didn't like about this book. This book is like this is the number one book right now about trauma and processing it. It's called The Body Keeps Score. If you didn't hear that earlier, and the whole idea is that you physically
Trauma is held in your body.
Yeah. And what I didn't like about it is they just elaborate on that idea. Like, yes, my childhood fucked me up. Totally understand that. I have all this stuff that can be triggered or not. I act out in these certain ways. Yeah. But now what? I'm 39 and when I have an opportunity, I think about it so much that I sabotage it. So what does it mean knowing that that's like because my mom told me that I didn't do my chores well enough?
There's like a whole thing at the end that talks about resources and
Yeah.
actual
I
like,
go to therapy. I'm not a
societies
dummy.
that you can reach out to and like,
I've done it.
websites and
You know what I have to do now? I have to cry. That's literally what my therapist wants me to do.
yeah.
She wants me to cry. I have to mourn my childhood.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
It's just funny, you know? You'd think that I could just
But you say that like it's not a solution.
Yeah, but it seems silly. Like it just seems silly that
Is it silly? Is it sillier though than like getting drugs to like cuz I think this whole thing
Yes, you can't party off of crying.
but it's sillier to like get I get what you're saying.
I can't
see
like
where you're going.
I can't like
and I hear
mask
you.
my problems by being like, you guys want to get together and just punch pillows and cry? It's gonna be awesome.
Oh,
There'll
God.
be chicks there.
This is saying treating trauma through theater, which can't be good.
You probably did it already.
I definitely did. Neurofeedback, PTSD, and addiction. I think that I think it's ridiculous though that we're treating symptoms of a disease and without treating the disease. I think that is
Yeah, I don't think you
the
said
disease
that.
being we're treating symptoms of trauma rather than treating the trauma itself. And the only way to treat trauma is by releasing it from the body, which would be crying, yelling, punching pillows, doing, shit like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't see why that's
Passive aggressively saying things to your wife. Is that another way to deal with trauma?
It is in Britain,
Oh, okay.
actually.
Not
Yeah.
too bad. I don't know the exchange rate.
Yeah.
Well,
You're actually not well traveled enough.
yeah,
to know that.
I'm really not that well traveled, which is the funny thing.
Yeah, you are.
I haven't been to 3 of the continents, you know? There's only 7. I haven't been to 4 of them. I've been to 3 of the 7 continents. I'm not even at 50%. That's not very well traveled. Here's what I was going to say so here's the thing. All of us have this trauma, which is weird to me because if we all have this trauma, do we have trauma? Or is that part of life? Like, here's my thought on it, is that we live such backwards, disconnected lives. I think that it has way more to do with social media, capitalism, like the idea that like this is so boring, but once we took people's livelihood away from their survival, so like I'm a banker, that doesn't mean I can't bank the food in my fridge. I have to do banking, I get money, I trade somebody for it. It's obviously helped society, but like in no way am I like tilling the land or hunting. So my like human response to my actual survival is so disconnected that I live in this continual state of like just confusion and apathy, because it's like all the things that I'm brought up to think that I need don't actually have anything to do with my survival. Does that make sense?
What? What the fuck are you
Like your
talking
dad's
about?
a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
You're a comic.
Yeah.
But your comedy doesn't there's so many steps between you doing comedy and feeding yourself. Do you see what I'm saying? We are completely disconnected from the natural side of our body. Like you literally, part of your job, a big part of it, this
What are you
right
talking
now.
about? I could just go get some pizza.
No, but like what I'm saying is you have money
Yeah.
that you can buy that pizza with.
Yeah.
You didn't make that pizza. You don't know where that pizza's from. You don't have any connection to the land in which the wheat was grown. We're animals.
Not really anymore.
That's what I'm saying. That's why everybody's depressed. They don't have any reason to live. Your job is literally to do stuff with your phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's depressing.
Yeah. So you're saying that there's something about mental illness that like you're saying if I was being chased by a wildebeest, I wouldn't have time to go, is this traumatic? And am I going to have time to mourn this properly later?
No, because you wouldn't. That's survival. You actually would feel great if you lived. Because that's like the thing is it's like, you know, like most people that come out of physically imperiled, like those kind of traumatic events, they actually like, they show improvement of like happiness and like depression and things like that because they've actually been given a connection to their actual survival. Like we live in this world where like literally our family.
I think the problem is that you are defining trauma as like an inherently negative thing. Whereas I think that what this book is promoting is like by healing trauma, you are getting to the other side of it completely and improving your life significantly.
I agree, but what is trauma if we all have it?
Well,
like,
what is bacteria if we all have it?
So trauma is the same as a disease.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is like I think that there's like a bigger solution than just like the fact that we don't care about our parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like we literally, neither of us really give a shit.
What do you mean?
We don't care about them that much. we like love them and we want them to like have good lives and stuff. But every time our parents call us, we go, ugh. That's literally like 75% of the world feels that way.
That doesn't mean that you don't care about someone. Everybody I care about annoys the shit out of me, like all the time.
That's because we're disconnected.
The dogs annoy the shit out of me. I still love them. I still look at them and I go, "Oh, you're so perfect."
But you like, you know, you never like. It's funny because you never like go back and look at like indigenous cultures and they're like, this fucking guy, Two Rivers, he will not shut the fuck up about the moon. I swear to God. This motherfucker, if one more powwow he brings up the fucking moon and Raven, I'm gonna lose my shit. Mm-hmm. Because they liked each other. They survived with each other.
But what are you fucking saying?
We're disconnected from our humanity. We're not animals anymore. We're like literally
You're saying we're disconnected from our humanity, or you're saying we're disconnected from our animal side?
Our humanity, we're humans. That's what makes us animals. That's just our species, I guess is what I'm saying. Like we have so little in our lives that connect us to what actually our lives are about. Like me and you, our family, that's important. But like, that's kind of the only thing.
Cute.
That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Everything else is just like this. It's literally like I hope enough people like this video on my phone so that people who have money give me jobs. And then I will have enough money to buy, honestly, things I don't really need. Mm-hmm. But that will give me dopamine and I'll feel happier. I'm not even thinking about food. I'm like, obviously.
I feel like you're taking this and making it like you're going
macro.
You're going in a lot of different directions with it.
I think it's pretty coherent, and everybody agrees that I'm a very cogent speaker.
I really just want the clip for this week to be like a collection of Andy going off in a just spiraling out of control.
I haven't spiraled at all, though. That's the funny thing. I didn't get worked up.
I'm not saying that no, I don't mean that you have, but I think mentally you take one thing and you go, we are not, like, you're saying two different things at the same time. You're going, we're not connected to our humanity anymore. We need to go back to a time when we're hunting one another as food. And I'm like, that's not what we think of as humanity anymore.
Well, our
humanness
that's minutia.
Is different from our animal instincts.
Well, what I mean is, like, we don't have a connection. I'll simplify it because I do agree that I'm all over the place, and you are a literalist for some reason. You can never bridge the gap between my autistic ADD. But so what I'm trying to say is we are not connected.
Autism actually is more literal than anyway, but go on.
That's fine. I'm not connected. We are not connected to our families, and I mean that in like the overall, like, our group.
Yeah.
You know, as much as we used to be.
Our ancestry.
We're not connected to the land we live in, the location, and what that means, like, in the sense of, like, where we get our food from, where we get our shelter from, what kind of, like, the appearance of it. Like, we are connected in the sense that we love New York and we have a group of friends, but, like, we still will, like, we don't have that great of a connection because if our friends annoy us too many times in a row, we distance ourselves from them.
But so how does that connect, do you think, to
trauma?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you.
I think that we all collectively want to feel loved and taken care of and safe and connected. More than anything, we want to feel connected.
Yeah.
And we are so disconnected because we are so far away from what it actually, like, what our lives actually mean. Like, literally our lives are just to, like, eat and sleep, be healthy.
So you're saying there's a self-centeredness around, like, that is connected to exploring your own trauma, that there's, like, a self-centered aspect to that?
Yes, I think that's true, but that's not what I was saying. What I do think is that I think that our trauma is a result of we really need to end this because it hasn't been probably funny other than you talking about how insane I sound.
I think it's pretty fun. I'm having a good time.
Okay.
Also, I just wanted to point out, this is a lot.
A lot of content?
Listen, we joke around on the podcast a lot, but this is fucking interesting.
Yeah, like, what if you farted out of your dick?
What if you could make that hole in your dick smile?
Yeah, that's how I want to hit on girls.
I want to draw eyes on it. Anyway, go on.
Can I get 2 googly eyes tattooed on my foreskin?
If you get hair restoration surgery, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care.
Sick.
It'd be hilarious.
I'm going to get mouse tongue tattooed on my chest.
What?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought you said mouse's tongue.
Same difference.
Gross.
But
it's your daughter.
What I'm trying to say is, like,
speaking of trauma,
with the breakdown of, like, civilization, like, in the sense that, like okay, here's I'll end on this because I don't want to, like, because I have a bad habit of talking myself into a place where I don't understand what I'm saying anymore. But we're not there yet. And what I'm trying to say is that the trauma, right? So, like, let's say my trauma is that my mom is, when I go to seek love from my mom is like, you did this wrong, right? And she did that enough times that it stuck. It was at a developmental phase where it stuck with me so that I felt like the only way I could get love was if I did things perfect, right? So my trauma manifests itself in OCD or worrying about the wrong things.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the trauma. But my mother acting that way is because my mom is a single mom who doesn't have the resources to be a present parent and a good parent and to sustain. She had to work 50, 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
She was on her own. She didn't have a
partner.
partner.
Nobody's going to be a perfect parent.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, this trauma thing is newer because we're more and more disconnected. Like, we're more and more, like, bifurcated. And like the idea is that my mom always had money, but my mom would buy stupid shit, and then she also had parents that traumatized her because they were pulled apart, and vice and all these things that like, it's getting too broad. But what I'm trying to say is like the conditions for the trauma were created by our distancing ourselves from like what actually matters, because we thought all this stuff matters: house, car, toys, clothes, beauty, booty, loot,
Also booty.
youth, like all these things that we like obsess over, when reality it's like all I really need is like the four of us to sleep in a bed and to have like 2 meals a day. But that, I don't think about that. I think those are inevitable. Like it's like with COVID, like everybody lost their shit because all of a sudden.
So what are you saying?
I just said it. The trauma is a result of a societal condition.
Okay.
It doesn't take the trauma away, but the bigger picture is that as a society, we don't value family.
Are you saying that trauma didn't exist when we were more connected to one another?
I'm telling you, if you go to like an indigenous culture and you talk to them about trauma and anxiety and OCD, they don't have it like we do. There's not like major cases of suicide at the same rate. There's not major cases of drug addiction at the same rate.
Right.
You can actually see drug addiction on a much larger picture within indigenous communities because they have they went so quickly from this small microsystem to this like, just it got torn apart, you know?
Right. I mean, you can't walk. Okay, so if a woman in Africa gives birth, right, and is torn from like her pussy to her asshole.
Yes.
Right. There are tribes that will send her away. Correct?
Yes.
That will send her to the woods to live.
Because she keeps on pooping and peeing everywhere. That is literally part of it. Okay.
So if I walk up to that woman and I'm like, hey, let's talk about your trauma. You're saying that is not a thing that they recognize because...
Well, you're talking about, I guess...
Because that exists. That still exists. It's just that there's more pressing issues. Like, I don't know, the rip between my pussy and my asshole.
Well,
you
she
know?
probably would be pretty traumatized.
So you're saying that, like, trauma is a byproduct of living in a privileged society, right?
I'm just telling you that, like, I think, like...
But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist elsewhere or that it didn't exist before. That's what I'm saying.
I think if you went back to, like... the Eskimos or whatever, like the native people from like Siberia walking across to North America over the Bering Strait. I doubt that many of them were like, I'm anxious right now because my dad always talked about the Bering Strait and how I could never make it.
But that doesn't mean that didn't exist.
I just think it existed at a much lower level. Like there was trauma, but like it's the same thing with that thing with like addiction.
I just don't understand your logic. I mean, I know what you're saying now.
My logic
but I don't understand your logic because the fact that you're like their lives were harder, so they didn't have.
I didn't say harder.
Okay.
I meant they were connected. Like there's that experiment. We got to wrap this up because I think we're like pushing 50 minutes now. There's an experiment where they take rats and they give them a maze. And in one version of the maze, they give them 2 options. They can either pick food and water or they can pick cocaine. And if they're by themselves in the maze, they'll do the cocaine until they die. Mm-hmm. And then there's another maze. Well, they'll do the same thing, except instead of food and water, they can go into a room full of other rats. Right. And the rats have like toys and there's like, you know, fun stuff like a rat PS5 and like a rat trampoline and like rat like Dance Dance Revolution. And it's popping, right? Yeah. And the rats will not pick the cocaine over that community.
Right. I don't see how that's a logical comparison though, because trauma is something that happens to you. And often happens, sometimes it happens because of a lack of community. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it happens because of the community you're born into. Sometimes you are born into a community that abuses you, or you're born into a community that
But like,
neglects you. In which case that's trauma as well. So like the cocaine is like a result of isolation, and that's how a rat is like
it's
treating.
not perfect, but what I'm trying to say is like, so sure, in a native, like an indigenous population, like a kid fell off a cliff and he breaks his leg and they don't know how to deal with it and they treat him like a pariah for the rest of his life. Sure, that's like traumatic. But how many stupid fucking idiots do we know that are just like, I had trauma because my dad didn't like review my Yale essay and I ended up having to go to Colgate.
So so you're saying that trauma, as we're defining it, is a byproduct, in some cases, of a privileged life.
Sure. Well, it's privilege, the privilege being like we've been disconnected from, like privilege is actually like a negative in this, because it's taken us away from like, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're right.
I just don't understand what the argument was. I liked having it. I just don't understand what it, like, I don't really understand why you are so, I don't know how to describe what you just did. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't defensiveness. It was just like, sort of like, I guess you were playing devil's advocate a little bit or something. I don't know.
I feel like this. I've always felt like depression has way more to do with what we value in a society and what we prioritize and what we put forth as a value system.
Yeah.
Then, you know, like, okay, probably like, let's get really behind the curtain. Probably the most traumatic thing that happened in my whole life was my dad moved across the country.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a very present father figure for my adolescence.
Okay.
But my dad didn't need to move across the country. He just thought he did because he needed to make a certain amount of money to have a quality of life that he wanted to have. And so he chose to follow a job. And everybody, we all go, oh, that makes sense. Of course you move to where you got to work, you got to make money. But he could have worked somewhere in Seattle.
Right.
But the conditions are such that it's like, well, my dad made this much money and he needed this many things and he had to have this kind of stuff. But I would have loved a poor dad living down the street, or a semi-poor dad, whatever it is.
Right.
Than having a dad who was across the country that I saw 3 times a year.
Right.
And that's what I mean. Like, my trauma is a result of like this
disconnection,
and like, and a society saying like, of course you would leave where you're from and your family if you needed to make money, because you got to make money. And it's like, well, do you?
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. I mean,
also my dad was kind of into lame shit, you know. Kenny G.
Also you were molested in a body cast. I
But
just
that
want to
part
throw that out
rocked.
there.
That was hot.
I mean, it's like seems a lot more traumatic, but
Nah, that guy
it's
was
odd
cool.
the way that you like number the. I mean, I don't know. You know, if you liked the guy and he was cool and he played cool music while he was doing it, then I guess that could rock.
I did go see the movie Ghost with him in theaters.
Oh, that's nice of him. He was a gentleman. All right, you guys. That's this week's episode. Wash your hands. Don't lick your lover's eyeballs. Don't spit in their mouths unless it's a committed monogamous relationship. Oh, shit. Also, if they want bad advice, you guys, there's no bad advice this week other than everything Andy said. So just text us, 917-540-8395.
Yeah, and please join the Patreon, subscribe to the YouTube. It's on Rosebud's YouTube. And also, we will be in Charleston, South Carolina, June 25th and 26th. The weekend before, Rosebud will be in Illinois, some town. Go to her calendar. And I will be in Chicago, Illinois, July 30th, 31st, and August 1st. Please come through.
Come through.
Bye.
Bye.